All right, so after a lot of driving, Michael and I made it to the Badlands National Park. We just drove in over there and we just couldn't resist showing everybody this view because it is unbelievable. It is just totally beautiful canyons. I mean, they're just colorful. They've got bands of like this red and like what, beige-ish kind of color. It's just gorgeous. It was funny, I actually heard a lady after seeing this, she goes, "This is why I believe in the Bible." And that's totally true, right? So this is right entering into the park. Michael, what were your thoughts on it initially?
It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, just totally out of nowhere. The wind is very strong. We stopped at one spot before this that was just a scenic view, and you were almost falling over because of the wind. But the wind here is strong too.
And it's been flat for a good 400 or 500 miles.
Yeah.
So
this just comes out of nowhere.
this is a good surprise.
It's just unreal. Let's get another view of that, another pan. Yeah, and it really does shock you coming in. Just these gigantic canyons. And like I said, they're totally beautiful. They've got like this striping going on with the red and the beige. It really is an unbelievable gift from God that He created just such a beautiful world. Alright, so we plan on doing some hikes here tomorrow, the next couple of days, but tonight we're going to go grab dinner and then we'll probably set up for the night. So we'll bring you guys back as we go through the hikes. So Michael and I had dinner and we were driving around and we came across like just this area. It's just a little trailhead just kind of outside the parking lot, but we wanted to try out climbing up these, whatever they are, formation rocks, whatever you want to call them. They feel like a climbing gym, right? Like this, we're just going to be climbing all day tomorrow. But it's really, really awesome. It's so pretty. Yeah, it's what time is it? Like 8, something like 8?
7:30?
Yeah, and the sun has just barely set, and so it's still nice and bright out, but it's not super hot, and it'll get hot tomorrow, so we're gonna go out early in the morning, but we're just kind of high up with a super pretty view, and we wanted to bring you all into it. So there it is. Well, good morning, everyone. Today is Michael and my first day in the Badlands. We woke up super early at like 5:45, which is super early for us. Shout out to all the overachievers. But we woke up at 5:45 to get ready because we wanted to start hiking before it really got hot. And apparently it gets hot here pretty quick. And pretty suddenly, so we wanted to get out right now. The moon was still up decently high, so I think we got a couple of hours at least to get started, and then we're going to start to get hit by the heat, but hopefully by then we'll be almost done. Michael, what do you think about the hike so far?
Love it.
Yeah, it's really, Michael's funny. Michael said it reminded him of the elephant graveyard from The Lion King, where it's just desolate, just looks like stone and rock. It's super pretty. I mean, we were saying that all yesterday, but over here there's some grass on like a platform, but it's
No
super
rules.
pretty. There's no rules. But we think it'll be even nicer and nicer as the sun starts to just rise a little bit before the heat really hits. We'll probably have like at least an hour where the sun is up, but it's not super hot. So let's show you that. So
What'd you say? The rocks just come out
yeah,
the ground?
yeah. My comment was like, it's crazy because it's not like a mountain where like it slopes up. it's like flat ground, and then the rocks, the like whatever there are the rocks, the ridges, they just pop up. They're just like, you can see the edge right there, and that's super interesting. So it's really, really pretty. We're gonna love this hike. We got water, both of us, and we will show you guys all the cool stuff as we go through it. Michael and I made it back. We're both alive and safe. And now, as you guys can see, it is pouring rain. And there's still lightning going on outside. So I think we made the right decision.
Yep.
How far do you think we were out? Like a mile and a half?
Yeah, a little bit over.
Yeah, something like that. And so now we're back in the car. We will probably wait 30 minutes and then decide what we're gonna do, but we are safe. We did not try our luck with a lightning storm, and we made it back just before the rain, which is pretty good. All right, so Michael and I made it past where we were before. I don't have my stick right now, so I'm just using my arm, so it's a little bit closer, but we're just kind of in the middle of like a gorge. It's just really cool. We saw some rams before. That was super cool. We got like within 25 feet of them, and we have video of that. But it's just really nice. God blessed us today with some cloud coverage that you guys can see. So the sun has just been poking out every once in a while. It's nice and cool. I mean, I'm not even sweating that much. So it's really, really nice, because apparently it gets really hot here when the sun is totally out, when there's no cloud coverage. Like, it was like 98 yesterday when we were driving. So it's super nice that that today it's just nice and cool and breezy, but it's just really, really pretty and amazing here. So definitely would recommend this one. So after doing the entire hike, we ended up at this starting point, which the tour guide said there's this hike called the Notch, which brings you up to like this really high point. And it's supposed to be the best view in the entire park. So we're here and we're going to show it to you. So it just basically like pops up over this valley.
We have to climb a ladder.
Yeah, you had to climb this big ladder to get up here, which it was funny. We saw a lady with her baby, and I was asking her, you know, do you think you're going to be okay getting down? And she goes, getting up wasn't too bad, but getting down is going to be challenging. But it's just amazing. It's really, really amazing. Michael and I made it to the second campsite in the Badlands, and this campsite's really cool. First of all, we kind of transitioned to a different part of the Badlands, and in this part it's kind of like all got this short grass on it. It's a little bit different color, and it was really funny how it transitioned. It went like from like clay and rock straight over to like this kind of short grass, but now it's in just this totally open area. And we saw bison coming up. We saw these little prairie dogs. There's one right over there. I'm not sure if you can see him. He's like, I don't know, maybe 20 feet away from me. Michael's in the car resting because I woke him up pretty early this morning. But it's just really, really cool, this area. So this is like, I'm guessing like the other half of the Badlands, which is like the first half is the canyons that you guys saw. And then this half is kind of like more mountains and kind of this like grassy like area, but there seems to be a lot of wildlife here, so that'll be really cool to check out. Right now I'm under just like a small awning for some shade, but we will bring you guys in to show you all of the super cool clips of animals that we have, and we'll bring you on board when we go on the next hike. What's going on, everybody? This is Chris
And Michael.
and today we are wrapping up our time in the Badlands in South Dakota. So yesterday we spent, were we on the north side?
East side.
East side. So the other side, the east side, is a lot more like rocky. There's barely any grass, and if there is, it's very, very dry. We saw a couple of animals. We saw some rams.
And then a toad.
Yeah, a toad. And then over here on the west side, it's a lot more grassy. And so it's kind of like two different landscapes across the entire national park, which is really interesting. But today we did, what did we do? Mark 7? So today we did Mark 7. And so let's talk about that, and then we'll get into a review of the Badlands. And in Mark 6, it's all about Jesus doing all these different miracles. So now Jesus is going around and doing miracles in place after place. And one of my favorite things that it says is the people are astonished by the authority Jesus is able to speak from. So Jesus goes and he'll preach in the synagogue, and people are shocked by the authority that he has in the synagogue. And then he'll go and he'll tell demons to leave, and people are shocked by the authority he has to tell demons to leave. And he can even he'll send his disciples out 2 by 2 and give them authority to cast out demons, and they can do it. So then Mark 7 comes up, and Mark 7 starts off with tradition versus commandments. And what it's about is the people of Israel, the Jewish people, had gotten themselves too stuck in tradition instead of listening to God's law and what God's law is actually about. So God being represented by love, his laws are from love. And what the Jewish people had done is they had made tradition after tradition after tradition coming down from the elders that had actually strangled God's law, and in some parts actually contradicted God's law. And so what that gets into is what defiles a person. So the Jewish people had all of these different rules of what defiled a person. You had to wash your hands before you eat, otherwise you're unclean. You have to not eat pigs or shellfish, otherwise you're unclean. And Jesus comes along and he changes it all. And so, Michael, this was your favorite section, so why don't you talk about that?
Yes, so obviously before in the Jewish culture there was a lot of rule on what is clean and what is unclean, like Chris said, specifically going into what you eat. And so Jesus tells them there is nothing outside a person that by going in to him can defile him, but the things that come out of a person are what defile him. And that's Mark 7:15, verse 15. So what that is talking about is he is now telling them that all food is now clean. He declares it in verse 19. He says, since it enters not his heart but his stomach and is expelled, thus he declared all foods clean. But the things that come out of a person are what defile him. For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, and foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. And that's Mark 7, verse 21 through 23. So that is talking about what comes in from a person that goes out. That are the defining traits that would defile a person. And again, he's rewriting or changing the way the people thought about the rules, and giving them better understanding of how to properly go about living your life within those rules.
Yeah. The Jewish people had, at this point, they had made it kind of a thing that it was like the closer you followed God's law, the more holy you were. And so what Jesus is doing is he's coming down and saying, no, God's law has a purpose. God has a purpose. And it's not what you put into your body. It's not your traditions or, your ceremonies or whatever that's going to defile you. It's what you do. So if you do all these traditions and you wash your hands the right time and you sit down and you pray in this position and then you do this or that, that's not going to keep you clean. But if you do all those things and then go out and commit sin, you go out and you lie, you go out and you commit adultery, you go out and you do this or that, that's what's going to defile you. And so Jesus is just taking their traditions and just like God does all the time, flipping what you thought on its head and saying, no, this is the right way. This is the true way.
So the final section of Mark 7 talks about a woman who comes to Jesus, asking for Jesus to cast a demon out of her daughter. And this woman is a Gentile. And again, at this time, the tradition was that the Gentiles were below the Jews and as low as even to call them dogs. So Jesus talks to this woman and basically calls her a dog and says, "Why should I heal your daughter when there are so many other children to heal?" And she responds by saying in verse 28, says, "But she answered him, 'Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs.'" So again saying, even we are worth healing and saving.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus says, that is correct. He responds in verse 29, and he said to her, "For this statement you may go your way, the demon has left your daughter." And Chris, we discussed this, and Chris had explained to me that this was Jesus breaking down the traditional order of ranking and how people perceived each other, and he wanted to make sure that people knew that all people are now equal within his rule. And specifically, he says, "For this statement you may go your way," talking again about her faith in Jesus and God's power. Not that he had healed them, he had healed her daughter, but that her faith in Jesus had healed her daughter.
Right. Yeah. So just to reiterate kind of what Michael was saying, just like in Roman society, you had Romans and everyone else, right? The Romans were special. In the Jewish society, you had the Jewish people and everyone else. And the Jews, because they had been chosen by God, because they were God's special people, they thought they were hot stuff. And they thought that, they were their own people, and then everyone else was not as good. And what Jesus is doing here is he's breaking down that order again. And he's saying, he's kind of like pushing the woman and then saying, then when she responds, "Yes, but like even we need help too," he's like, "That's right. Yes, everyone needs help. Jews need help. Gentiles need help." And so he's breaking down that order of only being for the Jewish people. No, he's going to be here for everybody under Christ. And then like Michael said, and we talked about that other time, again, Jesus, right, has the power to heal anybody. He can just heal them. But instead of just healing them, he says, no, your statement has made it true. So it's your faith. And again, it's an interesting example of how God allows himself to work through your faith to the proportion of your faith. So if you have a lot of faith, God allows himself to work a lot. And if you have a little faith, then God won't work as much. One of my favorite verses is when Jesus said, "If you just have the faith of a mustard seed, you can tell that mountain to move, and it'll move." And so it doesn't take a lot of faith; it just takes a little bit of faith, and Jesus will change your entire life. And so that's what I pray for everybody who's watching these videos: is just have that mustard seed amount of faith. All right. So now we did our Bible verse, or our Bible chapter. What were your thoughts on the Badlands day 1 and day 2?
Immediately, once you enter the park, it is completely different. The landscape driving, we drove for 4 or 5 hours through South Dakota, and it was flat, a little bit of rolling hills, but not much. And you just enter the park, and immediately it's this giant chasm of different rocks and all different formations and things of that sort. So that was just a spectacular surprise. Then, of course, going to the next day, we went on probably a good 10-mile hike.
Yeah, it was a long hike. I mean, our feet hurt after.
Yeah, very good hike. A lot of relatively flat ground, so it wasn't too difficult. There were some steep portions or some climbing up rocks and things of that sort, but relatively easy path. It was just a long trail, so it did tire us out pretty good.
Yeah, we were tired after.
After that, we went over to the west side, which I had read had good opportunity to see other animals and a good camping site. So we decided to spend the second night over there. A bit of a drive. A lot of the road is rocky, so it's a little tough to drive on, but we got there and immediately you see tons of prairie dogs. You see bison everywhere, so it's just a really nice environment to be around. You spend,
you can actually hear the prairie dogs. They're coming up now and they're making their little squeaking noises.
yeah, a lot of fun. They're very, very close. We probably got, within 3 feet of a prairie dog and within like 10 feet of a bison. A lot less trails, so definitely stay on the east side for the trails, and then come over here if you want to spend a night, camp out. We didn't have time to set up a tent, so we still slept in the car, but great place to set up a tent. No cell service, so it's good time, good opportunity.
That's a good thing, yeah.
To spend some time with the people that you're around, meet new people. Also, there's not really access to food or anything over on the east side. There's places to buy some food and things like that, so definitely come prepared. It's a bit out of everywhere else, but again, another great spot. This is definitely my favorite national park that we've been to so far. We'll see how this compares to the rest of them.
So one other note that we had, and we'll probably say it in other videos, we were told that you can get an annual pass, which is you can go to any national park for the entire year. And so for anybody looking to do a similar kind of trip, that's probably a good way to save some money. They said it costs $80 per vehicle. So if you're driving one vehicle, you just get this one pass at the first national park you go to, $80, and then you don't have to pay entrance fees and any other parks for that year. All right, so that is our review of the Badlands. As always, if you enjoy this content, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and have a blessed day.